"You're not worthy of white," my sister screamed before her wedding. "You're tainted by war." I nodded, heart racing, and slipped into the bathroom. When I emerged in my Navy SEAL uniform, silver star gleaming, the room froze in stunned silence. The rain hammered Monterey like a vengeful god, waves thrashing against the cliffs below our family's glass mansion as if trying to claw it into the Pacific. I stood in my motel room, a world away from that glittering estate, my laptop glowing, with an email that hit me harder than any bullet I dodged in Yemen. Lieutenant Riley Callahan, Navy SEAL, decorated for valor, reduced to a trembling mess by my sister Lauren's words. "Be my maid of honor, Riley. It's time to come home." The cryptic postscript, "We need to talk privately." A knife in my gut. Lauren, the golden child of Silicon Valley, hadn't spoken to me in years, not since I'd traded debutante balls for SEAL training. Why now? What game was she playing? I slammed the laptop shut, my reflection staring back from the rain-streaked window, cropped hair, scars peeking from my tank top, eyes that had seen too much. At 30, I was a stranger to the Callahan family, a ghost in their perfect world of tech moguls and yacht clubs. Lauren's wedding wasn't just a celebration. It was a stage, and I was being summoned to play a role I'd never fit. My fingers traced the silver star ribbon in my duffel, Ern dragging a bleeding teammate through a hail of gunfire. That was my truth, not the coral dresses and polite smiles Lauren wanted, but the email's hidden agenda gnawed at me. What did she need to talk about? And why did it feel like a trap? Monterey's cliffs loomed in my memory, their jagged edges, mirroring the divide between me and my family. Growing up, our mansion was a showcase of wealth floor-to-ceiling windows, minimalist art, a grand piano Lauren played flawlessly while I hid in the garage, practicing Krav Maga on a punching bag. Lauren, 3 years older, was the daughter my parents, Evelyn and Charles, dreamed of, Stanford-bound, poised, her blonde curls and dimpled smile lighting up every room. She was the keynote speaker at tech conferences, the darling of venture capitalists engaged to Ethan Warwick, heir to a cybersecurity empire. I was the disappointment, the girl who cliff-dived into the Pacific instead of sipping champagne at galas, who asked too many questions and broke too many rules at 14. I stole Lauren's pageant crown, a glittering symbol of her perfection. I'd snuck into her room, heart pounding, and placed it on my head, staring into her mirror, desperate to feel what she felt. Her voice cut through the silence. "You'll never be enough, Riley." She didn't yell, didn't snatch it back. She just stood there, her cold blue eyes stripping me bare. That moment defined us, her certainty, my defiance. It was the first crack in a bond that never healed. Our paths diverged like fault lines. Lauren sailed through Stanford, dated tech brothers with private jets, and built a startup that made headlines. I spent my teens scaling cliffs and mastering jiu-jitsu, my father's temper burning in my veins. At 18, I dropped a bombshell at a gala dinner, the kind where caviar was served on mother-of-pearl spoons. Surrounded by Monterey's elite, I announced I'd enlisted in the Navy, aiming for SEAL training. My mother fainted, her wine glass shattering on the marble floor. My father's face turned to stone. Lauren, in a sequined gown, leaned across the table and hissed, "You're a disgrace. You'll get yourself killed, and we'll all have to mourn you." The room went silent, forks frozen mid-air. I walked out, their whispers chasing me into the night. SEAL training was hell-grueling swims and freezing surf, obstacle courses that broke stronger recruits, instructors who screamed until your ears bled. I thrived on it. The Navy gave me purpose, a family forged in sweat and sacrifice, not blood and expectation. I excelled in missions that never made the news, rescuing hostages in Somalia, dismantling terrorist cells in Yemen, each up a test of will. But Yemen was where I earned my scars. My team was ambushed in a dusty canyon, RPGs tearing through our convoy. I dragged Petty Officer Martinez to cover, bullets pinging off rocks, shrapnel ripping into my shoulder. Blood soaked my gear, but I kept moving, firing back until AVAC arrived. The Silver Star ceremony was bittersweet. My CO pinned the medal to my chest. But the seats reserved for my family stayed empty. Lauren's emails were rare, polished updates about her startups. IPO, or Ethan's latest acquisition. She never asked about my deployments, as if acknowledging them would make the danger real. My parents sent care packages filled with skincare and designer scarves, useless in the desert. Family gatherings were worse stilted dinners where Lauren, dazzled with stories of San Francisco's elite, while Evelyn and Charles tiptoed around my career, asking about office work instead of combat. I was a ghost in their world. My medal's a secret they refused to see. So when Lauren's email arrived, it wasn't just an invitation, it was a summons to a battlefield I'd avoided for years. I flew into Monterey 2 weeks before the wedding, the Pacific's roar greeting me like an old friend. The Callahan estate was as I remembered, sleek, cold, a monument to status. My old bedroom was gone, replaced by a yoga studio with a fold-out bed. Evelyn left a vase of orchids and a note. "Welcome home, Riley." It felt like a lie. I was a guest, not a daughter. The first night, Ethan's parents hosted a dinner at the Monterey Yacht Club, a place where memberships cost more than my annual salary. Judge Margaret Warwick, Ethan's mother, eyed me like a specimen, her pearl earrings glinting under chandeliers. "So you're in the Navy?" she asked, her tone implying I scrubbed decks. "SEALs, ma'am," I corrected. 8 years, 3 deployments. Her husband, Victor, a tech tycoon with a Rolex the size of a hubcap, snorted. "Blue collar. Work, isn't it? Brave but hardly refined." Ethan, in a tailored suit, laughed it off, but his eyes didn't meet mine. Lauren glowed beside him, her hand on his arm, her smile a perfect mask. I clenched my fork, the urge to flip the table rising like a tide. The next day, the bridal boutique in Carmel was a nightmare of champagne flutes and passive-aggressive jabs. Lauren's influencer friends, Chloe, Ava, and Sophie swarmed like designer-clad vultures, their highlighted hair and Botox smiles identical. "Oh, Riley, your hands," Chloe cooed, grabbing my calloused fingers. "So rugged." Ava whispered to Sophie about my unrefined energy, loud enough for me to hear. Lauren, inspecting me like a project, frowned at my shrapnel scars. "We'll need makeup to cover those. And a wig your hair is too short for the coral dresses." I stood on a pedestal, pins pricking my skin, as they debated how to make me presentable. My reflection in the gilded mirror was a stranger, a doll being molded to fit Lauren's vision. That afternoon, the bridal party trekked to a cliffside for photos, the Pacific churning below. I leaned against a railing, posing as Lauren demanded, softer Riley, less aggressive. The railing gave way with a sickening creak, and I lunged backward, heart slamming as I caught myself inches from a 100-foot drop. The photographer gasped. Lauren's face was unreadable. "Old wood," she said too quickly, but I'd seen the bolts freshly loosened, not rusted. Someone wanted me gone, and the anonymous text I'd received that morning, "Watch your back at the wedding," flashed in my mind. Who sent it, and why? Lauren's locked journal, glimpsed in her room, fueled my suspicion. It sat on her vanity, a leather-bound secret she guarded like a treasure. What was she hiding? Her insistence on my role as maid of honor felt calculated, tied to Ethan's family's expectations, not sisterly love. At the yacht club, I'd overheard Margaret whisper to Victor about keeping appearances with the SEAL sister. Was Lauren's invitation a ploy to appease them, or something? Darker, the rehearsal dinner was a powder keg. Lauren cornered me in the estate's wine cellar, her coral dress glowing under dim lights. "You're planning to wear ivory, aren't you?" she snapped. "I saw the dress in your room." It was Ekru, a neutral choice, but she didn't care. "You're not worthy of white, Riley. You're tainted by war, by blood." Her words were a slap, echoing her childhood cruelty. I stood frozen, the air thick with years of resentment. Evelyn, hovering nearby, looked away, her silence louder than Lauren's accusation. I fled to my motel, the rain a mirror to my rage. My sealed dress uniform lay in its garment bag, ribbons gleaming, silver star, purple heart, badges of battles fought and won. It was more than fabric, it was my soul, forged in fire. Lauren wanted to erase it, to paint me as a failure, a stain, on her perfect day. But I was done hiding. Then I noticed my rental car's brakes felt soft on the drive. A quick check under the chassis revealed cut lines, deliberate sabotage. My pulse raced. The cliff, the text, now this who was trying to kill me. I made a choice that night, rain pounding the motel roof. I'd walk into Lauren's wedding as Lieutenant Riley Callahan, Navy SEAL, scars and all. No wigs, no shawls, no apologies. If Lauren wanted a fight, she'd get one. But the journal, the text, the sabotage, they hinted at a deeper conspiracy. One I'd have to unravel before the vows were spoken. As I polished my medals, a single question burned. What was Lauren hiding, and how far would she go to keep it buried? The morning of the wedding dawned gray, the Pacific a restless beast below the estate. I arrived at the bridal suite, my uniform hidden in a bag, the coral dress a concession I wasn't sure I'd keep. Lauren was a vision in white, her anxiety palpable as she barked orders at stylists. "Riley, stand straighter but softer," she snapped, her eyes darting to my shoulder, where makeup barely hid my scars. Chloe smirked, sipping mimosa, while Ava suggested long gloves to hide the damage. I bit my tongue, but the pressure was building, a grenade with a loose pin. Then it happened. During final photos, my scar peeked through, a jagged reminder of Yemen. Lauren's voice was ice. "Fix it. We can't have that in the church." Something snapped. I grabbed my bag and locked myself in the bathroom, heart pounding like a war drum. I stripped off the coral dress, the wig, the makeup, and donned my uniform. The mirror showed a warrior, Lieutenant Callahan, unbowed, unafraid. I stepped out, and the suite went silent, Lauren's champagne flute trembling in her hand. "What are you doing?" she whispered, her face a mask of fury and fear. "This isn't a rebellion, Lauren," I said, voice steady. "This is me." Her scream echoed, "You're ruining everything." Evelyn gasped, Chloe dropped her phone, and Ava backed away like I was a bomb. Charles entered, his eyes locking on my silver star. For the first time, he didn't look away. Lauren's ultimatum was brutal. "Change, or you're out." I held her gaze, years of pain flashing between us. I'm done pretending. She banished me from the bridal party, naming Chloe maid of honor. As I left the suite, a new text buzzed. "They know what you did in Somalia." My blood ran cold. Somalia was classified, a mission buried in Pentagon files. Who knew? And what did it have to do with Lauren's wedding? The church was packed, Monterey's elite in their finery. An usher, a Marine vet, saluted me quietly and led me to a middle pew, defying Lauren's orders. My cousin Mia, a rebellious teen with blue hair, whispered, "You're a badass, Riley." I smiled, but my mind was on the text, the journal, the sabotage. Colonel Thornton, Ethan's uncle and a retired SEAL, approached, his salute crisp. Silver Star Lieutenant joined my table at the reception. His warmth was a lifeline, but danger lingered. During the ceremony, I scanned the crowd, spotting Margaret's knowing smirk. Did she send the text? Was she tied to the attacks? The reception was a gilded cage, chandeliers sparkling, roses everywhere. I sat with Thornton, his stories of Vietnam grounding me. But whispers followed. Margaret's friends called me unstable, a disgrace in uniform. Then, in the garden, a masked figure lunged with a knife. I disarmed him, my training automatic, but he vanished into the crowd. The thug was hired, but by whom? Lauren? Margaret? Someone else? Lauren pulled me to the bridal suite, tears streaking her mascara. "You humiliated me," she cried. But her anger cracked, revealing fear. "I was terrified you'd die, Riley. Every mission, I check casualty lists, imagining your name. And now Dad looks at you like you're the hero, not me." Her confession stunned me. All these years, I thought she hated me. "I'm not here to steal your light," I said. "I just want to be seen." She nodded, a fragile truce forming. "I'm proud of you," she whispered. "Even if I don't understand?" We danced together later, with Ethan and Charles, a clumsy but real moment of healing. Charles's toast shocked the room. Riley's courage humbles us all. Evelyn stormed out, but the tide was turning. The next day, Lauren visited, asking me to be her child's godmother. At a high school talk, I inspired a girl to consider enlisting, passing on the lesson that defined me. Courage is living authentically, no matter the cost. But the journal, the texts, the attacks, they lingered unanswered. Someone wanted me, silenced, and the truth was still out there, waiting to be uncovered. The Monterey estate buzzed with frenetic energy. The bridal suite, a kaleidoscope of coral chiffon, champagne flutes, and Lauren's relentless perfectionism. I stood in the corner, my Navy SEAL dress uniform hidden in a garment bag, the coral bridesmaid dress clinging to me like a lie. Lauren, radiant in her pre-wedding glow, darted between stylists, barking orders with the precision of a drill sergeant. More curl in Chloe's hair. "Ava, your lip gloss is too pink." Her eyes landed on me, narrowing. "Riley, stand softer. You look like you're about to salute." The room tittered. Chloe, Ava, and Sophie, Lauren's influencer posse, smirking behind their mimosas. I forced a smile, my jaw tight, the weight of 1,000 unsaid words pressing against my ribs. This wasn't just a wedding. It was a battlefield. And I was already losing ground. The morning had started with a storm in my chest, the memory of last night's sabotage breaks still raw. Someone wanted me out of this wedding, maybe out of this world. The anonymous text, "Watch your back," burned in my mind, and Lauren's locked journal haunted me. What secrets was she guarding? And why did Ethan's mother, Judge Margaret Warwick, watch me with eyes that knew too much? I'd caught her at the yacht club, whispering about my Somalia mission, a classified op buried in Pentagon vaults. How did she know? The questions coiled like vipers, but I had no time to unravel them. Lauren's voice snapped me back. "Riley, your shoulder, the makeup's wearing off." I glanced at the mirror. My shrapnel scar, a jagged reminder of Yemen, peeked through the concealer, defiant and raw. Lauren's face twisted in panic. "Fix it," she hissed, gesturing to the stylist. "We can't have that in the photos." The room went quiet, the air thick with embarrassment. Chloe coughed delicately, Ava stared at her nails, and Sophie suggested maybe a shawl or long gloves. Their voices were syrupy, but their eyes gleamed with fascination, like I was a zoo exhibit. My skin burned, not from the scar, but from the humiliation. "It's irritating my skin," I said. Voice low. Lauren didn't blink. "Then use a different product." "This is my day, Riley. My perfect day." The words hit like a slap, echoing her rehearsal dinner venom. "You're tainted by war." I clutched the garment bag, my knuckles white. I'd agreed to the wig, the makeup, the softer posture, all to keep the peace. But this was erasure, a demand to bury the woman I'd become. The stylist approached with a makeup brush, but I stepped back. "I need a minute." Lauren's eyes flashed. Don't you dare walk out. I didn't answer, slipping into the bathroom and locking the door. Inside. The marble was cold against my palms as I leaned over the sink, breathing like I'd been taught in SEAL training. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. The mirror showed a stranger long curls from the wig, coral dress, face painted to hide who I was. I unzipped the garment bag, my uniform spilling out like a confession. Dark blue jacket, gold insignia, ribbons gleaming, silver star, purple heart, badges of battles fought and won. My fingers traced the fabric, memories flooding back, Yemen's dust, Somalia's chaos, the weight of lives in my hands. This was Lieutenant Riley Callahan, not Lauren's doll. I stripped off the dress, the wig, the makeup, and changed. The uniform fit like a second skin, my scars proud, my medals heavy with truth. In the mirror, I stood tall, unapologetic. This was where the suite fell silent when I stepped out, my boots clicking on the hardwood. Lauren's champagne flute froze mid-air, her face draining of color. Chloe gasped, Ava dropped her phone, and Sophie backed into a table, knocking over. A vase. What are you doing? Lauren whispered, her voice a blade. I squared my shoulders, parade rest instinctive. Being myself, her scream shattered the silence. You're ruining everything. My perfect day, my family, my life. She lunged forward, tears streaming, her gown rustling like a storm. Change back, Riley, or I swear I'll disown you. The threat landed like a grenade, but I held my ground. I'm done hiding, Lauren. This is who I am. Evelyn rushed in, her silver dress shimmering, her hand at her throat. Riley, please, don't do this. Not today. Her voice was desperate, but my father, Charles, entered behind her, his eyes locking on my silver star. He hesitated, then murmured, You've earned this. The words were soft, but they hit like thunder, a crack in the wall between us. Lauren spun on him. Dad, tell her to stop. He didn't move, his gaze still on my medals, and for the first time I saw something like pride. The tension snapped when the wedding planner burst in. 15 minutes to ceremony. Her eyes widened at my uniform, but she recovered. Is everything okay? Lauren's voice was ice. No, Riley's out of the wedding party. She turned to me, her ultimatum final. Change, or you're banned. Choose. The room held its breath, every eye on me. I thought of Yemen dragging Martinez through gunfire, of Somalia's dark alleys, of the brakes cut on my car. I'd faced death and won. This was no different. I choose me, I said, voice steady. Lauren's face hardened. Then you're done. Clothes made of honor. You can sit in the back with the caterers. The banishment stung, but I nodded, gathering my things. As I reached the door, a new text buzzed. They know what you did in Somalia. My blood ran cold. Somalia was a ghost, a mission where I'd stopped the warlord's plot, but at a cost civilian casualties, classified and buried. Who knew? Margaret's smirk at the yacht club flashed in my mind. Did she have connections deep enough to access those files? And what did it have to do with Lauren's pendant? A silver crescent I'd seen in Somalia, worn by a local informant. The questions piled up, but the ceremony loomed. I slipped out, the weight of my uniform grounding me. The church was a cathedral of wealth, stained glass glowing, pews filled with Monterey's elite. An usher, a grizzled Marine vet with a silver star of his own, met my eyes and saluted discreetly. Lieutenant, he murmured, leading me not to the back, but to a prominent pew near the aisle. Semper Fi. His quiet support steadied me, but the whispers followed guests staring, Margaret's friends clutching their pearls. My cousin Mia, 16 and rebellious with blue streaks in her hair, slid beside me. Holy shit, Riley, you're a badass. Are those medals real? I smiled, touched. Earned every one. She leaned closer. I'm thinking of enlisting. Mom's freaking out, but I want to do something real, you know? Before I could answer, the organ swelled, and the ceremony began. Lauren glided down the aisle, a vision. In white, her pendant glinting at her throat. Ethan stood at the altar, polished and perfect, but his glance at me was sharp, almost wary. Charles walked more in, his eyes meeting mine briefly, a flicker of something regret. Pride? I couldn't tell. The vows were flawless, but I barely heard them, my mind on the threats. The poisoned champagne at the rehearsal still chilled me. I'd noticed a bitter taste and swapped glasses with a waiter who collapsed an hour later, rushed to the IA. The police called it food poisoning, but I knew better. Someone wanted me dead, and the stalker's attack in the garden later would prove it. The reception was a fairy tale turned nightmare. The estate's ballroom draped in roses and crystal. I sat with Colonel Thornton, Ethan's uncle, a retired SEAL whose gravelly voice and war stories were a lifeline. Silver Star, Yemen, he said, raising his glass. Hell of a thing, Lieutenant. Tell me about it. I hesitated, the memories raw, but his steady gaze pulled me in. Ambush in a canyon. Dragged my guy to cover, took shrapnel. Kept shooting till evac came. He nodded. No judgment, just respect. You're one of us. For the first time that day, I felt seen, but the whispers grew louder. Margaret's clique spread rumors, their voices carrying unstable PTSD, dangerous in that uniform. I clenched my fists, Thornton's hand on my shoulder, keeping me grounded. Let him talk, he said. They don't know courage. Then, in the garden during a break, it happened. A masked figure lunged from the shadows, knife flashing. My training kicked in, I grabbed his wrist, twisted, and slammed him to the ground, the blade clattering. Who sent you? I hissed. He spat, you'll find out, and bolted, vanishing into the crowd. My heart pounded. A hired thug, but whose? Lauren's? Margaret's? Or someone tied to Ethan's cybersecurity empire, which rumors had dabbled. And black market deals? Thornton found me, his eyes sharp. You okay, Lieutenant? I nodded, but the pendant burned in my mind. I'd seen it in Somalia, on an informant who'd betrayed us, leading to the mission's bloody end. Why was Lauren wearing it? Was it coincidence, or a clue to the conspiracy tightening around me? I needed answers, but Lauren's voice cut through my thoughts. We need to talk now. She pulled me to the bridal suite, her gown sweeping the floor, her face a storm of rage and tears. You humiliated me, she cried, slamming the door. In front of Ethan's family, the press, everyone. Why, Riley? To prove you're better than me. Her words were a gut punch, but I saw the cracks, her trembling hands, her red-rimmed eyes. I didn't do this to hurt you, I said. I did it to be me. You've spent years trying to erase who I am. She laughed, bitter and broken. Erase you? I was terrified you'd die. Every deployment, I checked casualty lists, had nightmares of your coffin. And then you come home with medals, and Dad looks at you like you're the son, not me. I've done everything right, Stanford, the startup, Ethan, and it's never enough. Her confession shattered me. All these years, I thought she despised me, but she'd been scared, jealous, lost. I never wanted to take your place, I said, my voice catching. I just wanted to be seen, not judged. She sank onto a chair, tears spilling. I'm proud of you, Riley, even when I hate you for it. The admission hung between us, raw and real. I knelt beside her. I'm proud of you, too. Your life, your strength, it's yours, not mine to dim. For a moment, we were sisters again, the gap narrowing. But the moment broke when Margaret burst in, her face a mask of fury. This is a disgrace, she snapped, glaring at my uniform. You're a liability, Riley, unstable, dangerous. Her words echoed the rumors, but her eyes held a glint of knowledge. Somalia, the pendant, the thug. I stood facing her. What do you know about my missions, Margaret? Her lips twitched, but she turned to Lauren. Control your sister, or Ethan's investors will hear about this circus. She stormed out, leaving a chill. Lauren looked at me, torn. She's powerful, Riley. Be careful. The reception resumed, but the tension was a live wire. Thornton pulled me onto the dance floor, his waltz studying me. Watch your six, he whispered. Warwick's got connections in, say, Black Ops. That pendant's no coincidence. My pulse spiked. Was Ethan's family tied to Somalia? To the attacks on me? Before I could process, Charles took the mic for his toast. The room hushed as he raised his glass. To Lauren, our star, who lights up the world. And to Riley, whose courage humbles us all. A legacy of honor? The crowd gasped, Evelyn's face crumpling as she stormed out. Charles met my eyes, a nod of respect, and I felt a weight lift. We danced together, Lauren, Ethan, Charles, and me, awkward at first, then fluid, a fragile bridge forming. Lauren whispered, "I'm sorry," and I squeezed her hand. The night ended with a shift. Evelyn sent me tactical gear the next week, a silent olive branch. Lauren visited me at Coronado, awed by my SEAL world, asking questions over dinner with my team. I envy you, she admitted, washing dishes beside me. Your freedom to choose. She asked me to be her child's godmother, a trust that broke me open. At a Monterey high school, I spoke to teens, inspiring a girl to consider enlisting. Courage is living your truth, I told them, my voice steady. But the pendant, the text, the thought, they lingered, a shadow over the healing. Someone knew my secrets, and the truth was out there, waiting to strike.